Hi everyone! In my last couple tutorial videos I talked about right hand technique, and so I thought this one we could talk about left hand technique and exercises. In this video I'm going to talk about shifting on the guitar. So what is a shift? A shift is just simply moving from one fret to another. So there are a few issues that come and difficulties with shifting. The first one is simply getting to the next note and making sure that both the notes are clear. And the next one would be squeaking on the strings. So you might notice your bass strings that are wound make this sound when you go up and down the string. So we want to avoid that. And the third thing is keeping the notes legato. And by legato, it just means smooth and not like a jumpy, detached sound. The first exercise I'm going to show you is from the technique book Kitharologus by Ricardo Izanaola, which is a book that I really recommend to everybody. Lots of really good technical exercises in there, and I will put a link in the description to purchase it if you're interested. And the other two exercises I have are variations that I created off of that first one. The exercise is simply just a major scale on one string at a time. And we're going to shift a couple times while we do this scale. So I like to start on the 6th string and then do all the strings after that. So I'll just show you on the 6th string for now. But you're going to put your first finger on the 1st fret, third finger on the 3rd fret, and now we're going to shift our first finger to the 5th fret, second finger on the 6th fret, pinky on the 8th fret. Now we're going to shift your first finger to the 10th fret, third finger on the 12th, and pinky on the 13th. And then we're just going to go backwards the exact same way. Shift your first finger to the 4th, and then we can repeat that, same thing again. Now here we're going to jump your pinky all the way up to that next octave on the 13th fret, and then just go back down the same way. And then we'll repeat that again. And now to end it, we're going to shift our pinky all the way up to not the octave, but up to this 8th fret, and just go down from there. So that's the exercise, and I would generally do this and then do all those repeats and then go to the next string. So I'll show you the next string, and I would do all the strings, but for now maybe we won't do all of them in the video. You could do them in your practice room. So when you're focusing on getting your finger to the next note, make sure the note is clear. I want you to think about looking where you're going, not necessarily at like following your fingers, but where you're going. Think about if you're driving. I know not everybody drives. I live in New York City and not everybody here drives. It's a hassle, but maybe also you could think about like if you're on a bicycle. It's the same thing. If you're driving a bicycle or a car, you're looking ahead at the road, not right down in front of you, but you're looking at where you're going. So same thing here. I'm not looking at this finger where my finger is. I'm looking at the fret where my finger has to go. Looking all the way up here, then shifting. Don't let your eyes follow your fingers. Okay, and the next thing we have to think about is making sure that we're not squeaking on the strings. Actually, I'm going to go back to the 6th string for this one because I feel like it's the trickiest for string squeaks. Maybe because it's like the largest, I don't know. So we gotta lift up your finger enough that it doesn't touch the string, but we don't want to lift it so much that you're too far away from the string and then you have to go back to the string. So lifting it up just the tiniest amount so that it's just off of the string. And you might have to like play really slow and focus on this, it's pretty difficult. And now I'm shifting and I'm taking my fingers off just the tiniest amount. Don't take your fingers off, you get this sound that sounds like. It's kind of unpleasant to hear that in the middle of our beautiful music. So it's just something to practice, and it's a good exercise for that. And then the last thing we need to work on with this is keeping the notes really legato. So when you're shifting, it's really easy for the notes to sound like stop and then get to the next note. But you need to keep it legato so that the phrase still rings out and it sounds really beautiful. And it's difficult, so you need to think about holding your finger down for as long as possible until you need to get to the next note. So I'm going to hold that down right until I think I need to get to that note. The space in between those notes that makes that detached sound. This is also why I like doing this with the major scale, because I think if you do like random notes or chromatic notes, it doesn't sound as nice, where the major scale, we know in our ear what we want that to sound like, and you know where the high point of the scale is, so we can kind of phrase it to the high point and then phrase it to go back down. So I think that working with the major scale in this way is just going to make it so much easier. And now I have a couple of variations on this that I like to do as well, and that is basically more shifting. So I'll show you what I mean. The first one that I do has only 2 fingers per shift. So we'll start with our first finger and then our third finger, and then we're going to shift our first finger to the 5th fret, second finger, and now we're going to shift our first finger to the next note, which is the 8th fret. Third finger plays the 10th fret, and shift your first finger to the 12th fret. And then we're going to go back the exact same way. And then repeat. The jump, the octave. This one's tricky because we're going to do shift. Yep, so there we have it. There's a lot more shifts in that one. And it's different fingers that are shifting from the other one. And then the next one I have is a little bit more tricky because we're going to be shifting only with our first finger. And that is kind of weird because you never would probably do that in your music. You would never use your first finger for like every note. But it's just good practice for using your first finger. It's going to be really hard to keep the legato. Your first finger is doing all the work there. Doing one finger to another in the same position feels pretty natural for legato, but whenever you have to shift, that's when the legato can really break up because you're lifting your finger off of the string. So we're going to do a shift on every single note and use our first finger the whole time. exercises for shifting. I hope that helps you keep all of your music really legato and really beautiful, and it's something that you can practice every day and then use into your own pieces that you're playing. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.